And it's a great morning. Good morning to everyone out there in TV land. This is the Speaker's Corner. You have two corners, too. That's right. I don't know that they're corners when there's only two, but there are two of us here this morning. I am Jeff Wheeler, one of your hosts, here under, and it is a shadow of the Gold Dome here in lovely and illustrious downtown Atlanta, Georgia. I am joined by my New York compatriot, Tom Holmes. Say good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Tom.
God, I need to get better at saying things that are better introductions. So Tom Holmes and I decided that we were going to make something happen this week. We said, you know what? Let's do this thing. We got a lot of stuff in the news. We have a lot of things that are important. And we were bantering back and forth throughout the week. And we said, let's put it on record so that when we are right, everyone else out there in TV land will know why and how we were right. Right?
Right.
All right. So first off, I just wanted to throw an aside in here. I was able to get out on the jet skis yesterday, which was beautiful and wonderful. It was 50 degrees in the morning, but it was 78 by the time it was 2 o'clock whenever I got out there. So it was perfect weather. So if anybody wants to come to Atlanta and ride around on the water, just give me a holler.
Nice.
Everything's tuned up, ready to roll. Okay, so now that we're tuned up and ready to roll, what is in the news this week? I think we had Donald Drumpf.
He's drunk.
It's Drumpf. It's in my head. It's Drumpf. It's Drumpf. It's Drumpf.
Yeah.
It might be dead.
What was 3? What was 17, I think. And then what's 3 is now 1. And
it's now 1.
That would be the chairman of the board, not Frank Sinatra, but Donald Trump, who is now the lone candidate standing for the Republican side.
Which is kind of crazy because, you know, I guess he did take center stage at the debates from probably about the middle of the debate season on, didn't he?
Yeah.
And so I guess he was considered by those who were the debate captains or the people running the debates that he was the show. But I think they started out doing that because he was the most animated and the most newsworthy and the most, replayable. So he kind of got the most airtime. Yeah. Not necessarily because he had strength in the numbers, because he really came out as a Midland candidate. Ben Carson came around and did his thing, and then it was really the anti-establishment movement that got him to be on top. And it has really taken over. And I guess the point that has really come out this week since Donald Trump has made it as the only candidate available, even though he's not actually the party's nominee, but it is the presumptive nominee, he has no support of the Republican elites. Both of the Bushes, both of the ex-Bushes that are in existence, George H.W. Bush and Baby Bush are both stating that they will not support Donald Trump in his election campaign. The very well-regarded Republican House Majority Leader said that he is not going to support. He's just not ready.
That would be Mr. Paul Ryan?
Paul Ryan, yes. And, you know, I really like Paul Ryan. He seems like his heart is in the right place whenever he does his things. But for some reason, he's saying his heart is not in the right place. I don't know what's going on in the back room with all of that, but it feels like something went on in the back room.
Well, I feel like for Ryan's case, I don't know if it's a backroom thing, but here's a man who initially did not want to be speaker and then was very much coaxed into being speaker, and I think he said, all right, but I'm going to be my speaker.
That's right.
I'm going to run this show the way I want. I'm not just a tool of the party. I believe in the party, but I'm not a tool for it. So I think
I'm not going to be your mouthpiece.
Exactly. So I think he sees this as an extension, probably, or I have to believe he probably sees this non-endorsement. He didn't say it was not going to happen. Like the Bushes basically have said, no, we're not. We're recusing ourselves. Bush Sr., basically, his spokespeople said he's kind of retired from politics, whereas the brothers less so. But Ryan kind of put it in terms of, at this point, he's not ready to endorse, which I think speaks to, if you recognize my authority and the reason that I am the speaker and agree to be speaker, then maybe we can talk. But right now, I'm not seeing anything that's going to. It also helps him, as I was reading, set up any future presidential ambitions that Ryan has, where he can say, look, I didn't endorse the guy, or I initially was hesitant like everyone else. So it also gives him...
Now that's a real valid concern, I think. I think that really resonates to me as somebody listening on the outside, that's probably a main and focal reason that he's doing that.
Yeah.
Because if he wants to run for president in 2020 as a Republican, then if the Donald Trump thing blows up, then he's got that to hold back on. And if it doesn't blow up, he says, well, I just wasn't proven yet. I'm now behind him, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So he's able to say, he's able to play both sides.
Yep.
So I didn't think about that until right now, but now it makes sense.
Well, that's why we do this show, is we help each other.
To exchange ideas and to
help.
make sure that we both have the perspective that we don't always have.
All right, we're bringing ideas to you, and we hope that you'll bring ideas to us. You can comment below. You're welcome to send us messages during the live stream or comment afterwards. So
That's right.
We do this for ourselves, but we also...
I get a number of phone calls every week telling me how we were wrong.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, usually it's family, too, which is really embarrassing because there's
right.
nothing like hearing your Happy Mother's Day, by the way.
Yes, Happy Mother's Day to the mothers out there.
Call it your mother, but if you don't have a mother, there's probably someone in your life who's very much a mom to you.
Who is a mother, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, or friends who are mothers. So you don't have to necessarily have a mother with you still, or you don't even have to like your own mother. I like my mother.
Yes, she's a lovely lady.
But you can commend your friends who are mothers, your family, extended family who are mothers. And you can also watch Samuel L. Jackson movies because he likes to say motherfucker a lot. So happy Samuel L.
Did you see that interview? Did you see that interview where he says, "I am not Lawrence Fishburne"?
Oh yeah. You could see how pissed off he was. Yeah, that was Samuel Jackson being interviewed by a stupid CNN reporter or something, and the CNN reporter obviously thought he was talking to Lawrence Fishburne, and Samuel Jackson's like, "Say my name." Yeah, classic.
That is hilarious.
It's funny, but also for him, it's like, yeah, we don't all look alike. You racist.
Nope. And that's exactly the moment that they were trying to say.
Yeah. This is. We were talking about Trump, and then we kind of drifted into talking about Ryan. That's fine,
right?
But it's I think Ryan is, maybe his response is typical to what a lot of people who now what they consciously or unconsciously hope was not going to happen is now a reality.
Yep.
And so they're having to decide what they're going to do. Are they really going to stay home?
Right.
I think it'll be I think there'll be a significant percentage that do stay home. I think there'll be a significant percentage that are rabid, die-in-the-wool fans of his, and then there's another percentage that are going to suck it up, hold their nose, and go into that election booth.
And the thing that I don't think is going to happen that the pundits are speaking about is the anti-Trump vote. I don't think that significant numbers of people that are traditionally Republicans are going to show up at the polls and vote for a Democrat in lieu of Donald Trump. I think they will just not show up.
The only yes, agreed. Yeah, for those who are,
but they may vote Libertarian.
Dream on, dream on, dream on. I do think where the anti-Trump vote will come to play is not on the right, but is in ensuring that significant numbers of Democrats do show up, or people who are independent/Democrats do show up rather than stay home.
Really?
Yeah, I think you'll see women and voters of color.
Well, now you say women. If it's Hillary, she isn't polling well with women.
Trump is polling worse.
Agreed. My point is that there is no inspiration to show up at the polls. People go to the polls to vote for somebody. They don't go to the polls to vote against somebody. So negatives don't turn into turnout most of the time.
I don't know, man. We'll see, but
we will see.
I don't.
I will bet you're going to get all kinds of people showing up on the Republican side that don't typically vote. You're going to get a much younger electorate for the Republican Party than they typically have, right? And you're going to get a lot of people that don't normally show up because across the country, where Trump is showing well is getting people to the polls that do not typically show up for the polls.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I will let you have it.
Obama ended up winning his so resoundingly because of the fact that he had people show up that didn't typically show up for the polls.
Yeah, but I feel like Trump, I would want to say that a large percentage of his voting demographic are white males, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Which tend to have
higher than average turnout.
Higher than average turnout year to year. So, yeah, he'll see an uptick, but I don't know if he'll see something on the level of Obama's uptick.
No, he won't see anything. But I'm saying that it will negate the didn't show up because they don't like Trump. I think it's going to be enough of an uptick to get those folks that stay home.
He needs. I think I was reading a state-by-state breakdown of the electorate. He needs about a 10-point swing in his polling numbers to win the general election. Not impossible, because we saw that kind of swing Reagan to Carter. Because basically Trump is seeing the same numbers that Reagan was kind of seeing, or are not too far off from what Reagan was seeing in the run-up to the general election.
But really, to me, it's not. You're not going to know much until you see the first debate or two that they have in the general. Because generally both candidates switch what it is that they're saying and what message they're giving as soon as it turns to the general election.
But isn't that a huge gamble for him? Because he's really, what got him to where he is was this radical line.
No, it's the anti-establishment movement. It's the anti-establishment movement.
No,
you have an establishment candidate in Hillary, and you have an anti-establishment candidate in Bernie, right? And here's the one that I don't think and I know this is sacrilege to say, but I think that a significant portion of the Bernie vote is going to show up for Trump.
No. What's a significant? Qualify that number.
I'd probably say of the people that voted for Bernie in the primaries, 30+%.
You've lost your damn mind. If you said 13%, I might have been like talking, but 30%, you lost your damn mind. And I fight. This is not. I will fight you on the whole anti-establishment line, because I don't think he's tapping into that, because that was the kind of who's his face? I've already forgot his name, and he's only been gone for a week.
Carson.
Senator Cruz.
Oh, Cruz.
Senator Cruz was, that's the reason why everyone hates him in Congress, is because he basically doesn't play by the big boy rules or whatever.
Right.
So I don't think. I don't know what. I even want to go far as like, is he tapping into some anti-democratic line? Here's where I was like, yesterday Jeff and I were bantering in a chat yesterday where I was talking about the we kicked it off by me sharing the term what is the term of phrase?
Lost.
Oh God. Reductio ad Hitlerium.
That's it. Reductio ad Hitlerium.
Which is a flaw in debate where you basically kind of say, well, Hitler enjoyed this, or Hitler believed in this, or like this. Therefore, anyone who likes this must be a Nazi.
Reducing all arguments to Nazism.
Yeah, it's a precursor to Godwin's law, which, as we've talked about on the show before, Godwin's law is the principle that the longer a comment thread on the internet goes on, the greater the likelihood that someone will reference the Nazis. We've all seen that in any news article. You just gotta go far enough down, and someone would be like, "Yeah, but you know who else like that? The Nazis." And it's like, and then
you've reached the end of that particular useful debate.
And everyone assumes that's the mic drop moment. Boom! The finality of evil. Boom. So here's where I hate when people reference Trump as a fascist. I don't necessarily think he's a fascist of, say, the European ilk of the 20s and 30s into the 40s. Better is what someone compared him to is he speaks and sounds like a Latin American strongman. And
yeah, he kind of does.
I wonder if that is, so it's maybe not anti-establishment, but maybe for some percentage of people, it's those who desire some anti-democratic aspect. They want the strongman to cross his arms and maybe brandish a machete every once in a while or something. Yeah, he's
Okay, but to me, it's the anti-politically correct establishment, right? So we have been taught in our schools and our society, and everybody's saying, oh, well, we need to be sensitive and we need to make sure that we pay attention to other people's feelings and all this kind of stuff. And Trump does not give a damn about any of that. Right?
The only feelings he seems to be concerned with are his own. Because
pretty much.
God forgive you if you say something ilk about him, because he'll say, "I'm going to sue you."
Yeah, my little hands.
We're gonna make so much money. We're gonna make so much money. We're gonna change the libel laws. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, for someone who likes to talk smack about other people, he's got thin skin with that small
He
hands.
does kind of have thin skin.
You
got to hold in that much hair. You got to have thin skin, right?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So this is gonna be a ride. This is.
So who do you think he's going to partner with?
Yeah, the Veep question. Who will be his vice president?
I think it's going to be. He's stated on CNBC. He stated that he really wanted somebody that understood how to govern. Right? He's like, I needed to be a strong candidate, and he didn't say on how to. He didn't say it in those words, but it basically said, I need somebody who's governed before to strengthen my ticket, and that's a very rational answer.
Yeah.
Because he's the card, he's the one who is brandishing, if you will, and he needs somebody else who understands how to work in the system.
Are you thinking Chris Christie?
Chris Christie is so high on that list.
Yeah.
I think he is absolutely on the short list.
Yeah.
Right? Or do you get somebody who's a deal maker already in Congress? Do you get somebody who knows how to be an executive, which kind of feels more like Trump?
Yeah.
Right? Or do you get somebody who knows how to be a deal maker, which is also not a bad extension of his needs and how to make it work.
Interesting. Wow, I just don't know.
Who do you think?
I could see Christie. I hadn't even stopped to think about it, but I mean, he's someone who would like Trump is a mind speaker. Trump, I think has some ire towards the Republican Party.
Right.
And he's been the CEO of a state government. So maybe, I don't know.
And funny. I think didn't he spend some time outside of politics in being an executive of some sort?
He was a lawyer. He was an attorney general for you. He was the district attorney for. Was he a federal prosecutor? I think his.
Do you think that he's going to try and push into those places that he doesn't get votes for the general? Do you think he's going to look at like a Susana Martinez or a Nikki Haley?
Jeez, I mean, that would that be?
I mean, that's pandering.
Pandering, yeah. And maybe Nikki Haley. I mean, that's an interesting choice.
I mean, Vanity Fair puts her on the list. Jeff Sessions, and there's one I'm very excited about.
Yeah,
it's a long shot according to them, but this one I'd be very excited about. Newt Gingrich.
Damn. That's weird. Okay.
He understood. He was in the system. He was somebody who was a mover and shaker, very Republican, and was able to move a lot of things around.
Mm-hmm. And he's been out of the system for a while.
And he's been out of the system, so he doesn't look like he's an insider.
And he's run operations against the Clintons, so he's has experience
and successful operations against the Clintons.
Interesting.
And might be sitting on some gems, if you will.
And I think he's anything that he had in his, he's not sitting on any kind of. He would have fired those shots. Those silver bullets are long expended. We'll have to talk next week about because obviously there's the Democratic primary is still to be completed.
Yes.
Because I'd love
Are you ready to go into the Democratic primary?
Eventually, I want to talk about who the Veep candidates would be on that side, because they're an interesting cadre. But yes, Hillary, you had written, is there a chance she is not the nominee?
Right. Bernie says that he is staying in all the way through.
Yeah.
So is there, and really, I read last night that he still only really needs 66% of the available delegates.
Yeah.
To get the popular delegate vote. And then do the superdelegates swing over? If he gets the popular...
I think they would swing over. I think there's enough realization that you can't go against the
that's right.
the will of the people. To do
that's
so
right.
would be
And
foolish.
66% is something that's not unachievable.
It's not unachievable. It's really effing hard. Absolutely.
It's hard, but it's doable. And he won big in... what state was that the other day? Washington? Indiana, okay.
That was the one on Tuesday.
Okay, then I thought, wasn't there Washington that released more delegates?
Who knows, maybe.
Okay.
They had their primary or their caucus a long time ago. Maybe they... Again, this Byzantine system we have for running primaries is so... I do appreciate... Here's the one thing that I do appreciate.
So dumb.
I know a lot of people hate the length of the election, of the primary election, but I do think it is the one thing I can do in defense of it, because I know we obviously probably hate the money that's involved, the amount of attention that's involved, but it is for a serious 4-year position, it's a pretty
thorough review of your efforts.
The ebb and flow of people. I mean, if we had decided this back in the fall, it would have been Ben Carson possibly, or it's people get it. The nice thing about the length of the primary is it gives eventually, once someone's in the spotlight, we get to examine them, potentially see them, warts and all, and then make the choice. So I do, especially on I do sometimes think it's a great. Or I appreciate the process.
So for all the weight that they put on New Hampshire and Iowa, with those first primaries, they don't really decide anything.
No.
All they do is they're a big rudder that turns the ship in one direction or the other, but that ship can then turn all over again 60 other times.
They do help too. I mean, you do see some. There are obviously, especially after New Hampshire.
Culling of the herd.
There is a culling of the herd. Yes. I do think it would be nice to rotate out what the first 2 states are.
But why? I don't think that those states are necessarily the ones, but how about you say for the last 3 presidential elections, any states that have flip-flopped, those automatically get on the beginning of the primary?
What do you mean with those flip-flop? What do you mean?
In the last 3 presidential elections, whichever states have switched which they voted for, right? They would inherently become the ones that run the early primaries. Because those are the battleground states.
Yeah.
Right? Like in Iowa, or not Iowa, Ohio or Florida, that have flopped back and forth.
Florida.
North Carolina. Where else is it that is swapped?
I don't know.
But people were showing maps, and it's hard to do that because you always have some sort of exception to the rule when you're dealing with these presidential candidates, right? So Obama for the last 8 years is an exception to the rule in that he's really resoundingly been in that black vote that just didn't exist before he ran for president. And now, once he's done, is that black vote going to show back up? You don't really know what the landscape's going to be. No. These are not regular times.
These are the times to remember, because they will not last forever. These are the days to hold on to, even though we may not want to.
So, if you had your choice right now, if you could wave a magic wand, Tom, and put Hillary in the Dem seat or put Bernie in the Dem seat, what would you do? Knowing what you know now.
Knowing what I know. And when you say the seat, you mean as the nominee?
As the nominee, not as the
nominee.
Just to go to the general election. Hillary with her establishment abilities, Bernie with his fervent 20-year-olds.
Well, here's the
knowing that they're going up against Donald Trump.
Well, I'd take either of them against Donald Trump. I mean...
But if you had to choose one.
If I had to choose one. Here's the problem. There's like the heart, and then there's the head.
I know.
The heart goes with Mr. Senator Sanders because I like what he's brought to the conversation.
Yeah.
I think it would be a wonderful interaction, and the debate would be highly charged. Michelle and I would have been referring to it if that was the two nominees. It would be a battle for the soul of capitalism. Mm-hmm. You'd have two very distinct and opposing views of capitalism. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be a great discourse to have because we don't talk about, besides the people who are reading Thomas Piketty. I still need to read that book. That's the, this book, French economist. I think that's his name, Thomas Piketty. As we all type in our computers, or Piketty? Piketty. Piketty, Capital in the 21st Century, The Economics of Inequality. It's in English now. I need to pick up a copy and read it. So I think it'd be an interesting discourse that would have. That said, post-November, Secretary Clinton's going to be able to do more, potentially. I think, yes, is her billet a little bit is mainstream and centrist and not very colorful? Sure. But is it more achievable? Probably. Whereas I don't think Senator Sanders is going to be able to achieve most anything that he wants to achieve. I mean, let's be honest. Free higher education is only a little bit more plausible than getting Mexico to build a wall.
So, let me introduce an idea to you.
Please.
If Bernie gets elected and he doesn't get a single law passed, but he spends 4 years espousing these ideas, how many people will have those ideas brew in their mind, and 15, 20 years from now, that kind of thing will start to happen?
Interesting.
Right? Because you got to look at it, and those things that exist now is not those things that are passed now is not because the first person came up with them and everybody went, oh, that's a great idea, let's go do it.
Yeah.
But the Kennedys were working towards single payer health for so long. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something that Obama came up with. The Obamacare concept was just following in the footsteps of other people who had been championing it and failed. So even if you feel your heart says that Bernie's going to do it, but he won't do it in his elected office, then fine. He's already set the ground for that to happen, at worst. Because Bernie's not the kind of guy who's going to get into office and go, oh, yeah, all that stuff I said about paying for college, yeah, that's not important anymore. We really need to build up our war machine. That's just not something Bernie's going to do.
No, probably not. Well, we need to do. Let's build more tanks. And
I like European socialism, so we're going to occupy Finland, and we're going to ship over those Finns, and we're going to start working for us. Oh my God, Bernie, shut up. Listen. They've got no army. We can take them quick. We can have prime ministers here overnight. Boom. I'm sending in SEAL Team 6. I'm sending in SEAL Team 6 now.
See this big red button? I just want to push it. I just want to push it.
Right. It's probably not going to happen.
But just think about the brewing thing. And same way with his candidacy. He has been pushing the discourse in a direction that many people have wanted it to go for years. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important for us to have a discourse about what is the direction of the country. And that brings us to our meat of what we were talking about this past week. And that was, is this the election that moves the American governmental system towards opening up to a real and viable third, fourth, fifth party? And there is a lot of finger clouds that could create that tornado right now. The tornado doesn't exist. The hurricane is not here, but there are a lot of feeders that could certainly make that be in existence.
Yes.
The Republicans are very upset that they were not able to push in a candidate that they wanted. Donald Trump is inherently anti-establishment. The establishment candidate of Hillary Clinton is being greatly challenged by an outsider, not really an outsider to the party, but an outsider to standard politics in Bernie Sanders that nobody felt like was really going to go anywhere, right? Because she was anointed whenever she decided to run for president by most of those in the Democratic Party to be the candidate. And Bernie says, I'm just going to fight it and see what happens. And he's made a resounding mark on what's going on. So now you've got what Bernie represents in the far left. I want a real socialist safety net in my society, et cetera, et cetera. You've got Hillary that represents the establishment in Democratic land, right? And all of their supporters and the money and all this kind of stuff. The Republican establishment, which is very upset because they couldn't get Jeb Bush in with all the money that they gave to him. They couldn't get any of that to get any traction.
For all the tea in China.
Right? You have the religious movement that felt very dissed by the failure of Ted Cruz and all of the other candidates that they tried to do, the pulpit voters, if you will. And then you've got the Donald Trump, we really don't want to be politically correct. We want to be preppers and ready to go for all of that. That, to me, seems like 5 viable parties that are sitting here. And to me, if we had 5 viable parties that were in a general election instead of fighting all this out in a primary election, we'd be in a much better circumstance.
How many parties are you suggesting?
I would say that we need to have 3 viable parties. I would like to have 5 parties at any given major election.
Yeah.
In any non-incumbent election, there should be 5 parties running for it. If I was waving my magic wand.
The only way the 3 would work would we need some kind of realignment of the existing 2.
Yep.
To where there is a third way. I hate to say a third way because third way that's Blairite, Clintonite Democrats. Isn't that what the third way was?
Don't know this.
Or is that the fascist third way? Yeah, third way was Clintonian Blairite approach to the left, which was basically left center, creating a center left. Because obviously people love to brag on the left in America. Please, our left is very center compared to the center left, even the center left parties of Europe. Let's not even mention the far left. So yeah, there need to be some kind of realignment.
And it's easy to demagogue the far left, and it's easy to demagogue the far right.
It's where I'm again going to the UK politics is they have for a long time the Liberal Democrats were the ebb and flow growing third party. They've kind of like ebbed recently, but they kind of represented a true third portion of the triangle, and that's where I'm kind of like. There is no existing party. I know you're going to say, well, what are the libertarians? I mean,
No, the libertarians are a different direction.
yeah.
They would be a very strong fourth party. Right?
So do you make it a
you have
centrist party?
All right, so I would call it the what we're now calling the Democrats. Let those guys move over towards Bernie Sanders kind of style, or if you want to call them the Green Party, or you want to call them the Socialist Party, or whatever word they want to use. You want to kind of get a Bernie Sanders style party. You want to get a Ted Cruz style party, and that's the what we traditionally call the Republicans, and have those guys move over to the right a little bit, and that's all about the saying what life should
drown
be.
the government small enough to drown in a tub, or no, what is? Oh, take that back. Maybe that's more the Continue. I'm stepping on your toes.
It's okay. It's okay. So really, that one is all about the social influence that the government should and shouldn't have in our society.
We'll call it the Puritan Party.
The what now?
The Puritan Party.
Okay, Puritan Party. We can call it the Puritan Party, and then without a better term, maybe the Socialist Party. Can you think of a better term for Bernie's stuff?
No, we could call it socialist.
Okay.
Labor.
Labor. Okay, that's good. I like labor. I like the Puritan, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got a party which is all about compromise.
The modern Whigs.
The modern Whigs.
They already exist, actually.
Really?
There's a modern Whig party.
Nice.
They had the first Whig was elected to office in more than 100 years in Pennsylvania, I want to say. You'll have to look it up. It's just like,
wow.
What?
So
very small.
Were the Whigs inherently someone who was trying to be centrist?
I have no idea what the Whig platform was. I have no idea what the Whigs did.
I love that word, Whig. And they've got an owl already as their thing,
Isn't that
right?
great icon? Yeah.
Yeah. 3 presidents.
Yeah.
So it was okay. So in any case,
yeah,
we'll call those the Whigs, which are inherently to be centrist, right? And then that's the idea, is that they're not really trying to do one thing over here. They're not really trying to do something over there.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get everybody to get along,
Yeah.
and to try and get something that everybody agrees on. That's really the point of their party, right? Yeah. And then you've got a fourth party, in my opinion, which should be about getting everybody out of everything. Get the government to shut its doors, which is the libertarian kind of concept, right? And then you've got issue parties. And each and every time that there's something that goes on, there's a legalized pot party, which is your fifth party, or there is a universal health care party, or whatever it is. That party is a single issue kind of thing. And that single issue party is intended to easily be brought into the fold of one of the other parties as they gain a coalition.
But here's where now I'm really getting pedantic. But I'm like, but within that libertarian, is it gonna both be free market libertarians and left libertarians underneath that, or how are you gonna?
What do you mean, free market libertarians and left libertarians?
Well, as I understand it, there are people who get put under the aegis of libertarianism, like your Noam Chomsky. Technically, is defined as a left libertarian, because he believes the state should exist, but basically to make sure that it's really I'm gonna funk up. We'll do some reading later about anarchic libertarianism.
So right. So you've got the anarchists in the Libertarian Party, which is like the extremist, right? So you're not less Jewish if you are a Reform Jew than you are if you are an Orthodox Jew, right? It's not like, oh, you get more street cred one way or the other.
No, actually, it might be a sliding scale. I'm sure you're Orthodox. I do know that marriages in the Reformed Church, Reform synagogues are not necessarily recognized by Orthodox, so that
was a bad example. Okay.
Yeah.
And welcome to our show where we make bad examples. Let me take that back. I make bad examples.
So we'll read up on our Chomsky and our.
But from what I understand, you got the libertarians and you've got those folks that feel like it's really about anarchy and getting as close to anarchy as you can survive in the monk stuff, right? And there's the others that just say, get out of my social life, get out of my normal everyday life as much
Yeah.
as humanly possible, and I still want you to protect the borders of my country, and I still want you to protect my property when I can't. And that's about it, right? And that's really the only role of government, is to assist in those people protecting their own property.
You know, it's been a long time since you've polished off your libertarian soapbox. I missed it. But so you're describing. I would also pitch a fifth.
How would you edit?
A fifth. I like the idea also of the single issue party.
Uh-huh.
You know, the people who feel strongly. Because let's get to this. The only way this multi-party system works is if we basically it breaks down to where no one has a 50+% majority.
Right, that is
in
assumed.
legislation in
That
this
is
legislature, unless people are like so on board with the platform put forward by that party,
Right.
which rock on. Now you have you don't need to be in coalition. But the greatness of this multi-party thing is there has to be already some, just to govern, there has to be negotiation and communication amongst
Right.
the people, which right now they don't have to. To the victor goes the spoils. Once
Right.
I cross that 50 mark, I'm like, suck it.
Yep.
But to govern,
And that
you know,
creates animosity. That creates where parties are at war with each other.
Right.
And people are inherently us against them, which is the entire problem, I think, with our current philosophy, is that we're attacking each other.
what we currently, the political game is played like chess, cutthroat and manipulative, where it really should be played like Settlers of Catan, where you can win, but you need to trade sheep
for wood.
For wood, yeah.
Or wood for sheep, really.
What- sheep? Who needs sheep? Fuck sheep.
I have wood for sheep. Anyone want wood for sheep? Wood for
Stop
sheep?
saying that. Stop saying that.
Wood for sheep.
We're gonna get YouTube block. Don't talk about your wood for sheep.
Oh!
Yeah. So yeah, we need in a multi-party system. It might be a little bit more like Settlers of Catan. Mm-hmm. And then everyone enjoys the game, even when they're losing, because you still have a chance to win.
You still have some power. You still have some influence, even when you're a loser. Because right now, if you have a political party that has 17 votes, nobody cares,
No.
right?
But if
you
they
have
need that
17 votes in the House, nobody cares, and that's a pretty significant amount of electors that you've elected to the Congress.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in a coalition-style government, 17 can make the difference in a particular issue.
You can become
and so now
kingmakers.
you get influence over the course.
Yeah. I like it.
I think it's really the way that our government was designed for, but it never actually ended up happening with any regularity. So,
Maybe this
3 cheers
time.
for 3 parties. Hip, hip.
Hooray! Hip, 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 hooray! Hip, 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 hooray!
Hooray!
Hip, 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 hooray! Also getting 3 cheers and a hip, hip, hooray was Khan!
It will be Khan!
No, not Star Trek's Wrath of Khan, but Sadiq Khan, who is the newly elected mayor of London. Why are we talking about it like it matters? Because it's not our country. Because it's an interesting story. He's for a few reasons. He's the son of a bus driver, immigrant bus driver. He's Muslim, and so he's the first. I think you want to say he's the first Muslim mayor of a major Western or European city, probably.
Really?
Who knows, maybe I have to assume. But it's really, it's like it's that feel good, story. I mean, the guy who's like, started at the bottom.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. I also found out that is trap music and not actually rap music. When you hear that very fast 808 beat.
Yeah. Look at this. Dropping. I can recognize reggaeton.
Dropping knowledge. Trap. Instead of just being rap, it is. And generally, the trap music is all here from Atlanta. So.
Ah, okay. Atlanta getting back in the game.
Oh, we've been in the game, yo. We started the game, now it's here.
Don't call it a comeback.
Just call it. Never mind. So in
I
any
forgot
case,
about Ray. Yeah. So it's and it's great. It's the lone bright spot. We were talking about this pre-roll for the Labour Party, which had an election. or this was national elections. It was not as abysmal as they've been predicting, but it was
which is
pretty
very
bad.
miserable to have to say.
It wasn't as bad as some people had said it would be. They still lost. This was looked at as a referendum on Jeremy Corbyn, who is the Labour Party leader, who is basically to the left of Bernie Sanders.
Wow.
Yeah. He represents kind of the very pre-Blairite, old school left of the Labour Party. And he was able to win the leadership of the party and has kind of been making some serious missteps. There were some anti-Semitic elements kind of popping, or support of some anti-Semitic statements by... I know, it's a mess over there. Poor Jeremy. I know he's, it's one of those people like, oh, you stuck true to your ideals, and then once you get to show and lead with your ideals, it might be a little bit less than palatable.
Yep.
So he's suffering. They got blasted in Scotland. The SNP, the National Party, won their third majority. They will not have... Anyway, the reason I brought this up, though, is there's a more important vote happening this summer. I think in June is the
Brexit?
The referendum on Brexit, on the British... should they stay or should they go from the European Union?
And what's your opinion?
They should stay.
Why?
I think it's because they have been one of the big beneficiaries of. I think there's been enough exceptions given to them by the European Union.
Yeah.
I think this whole, and I think the reasons for exiting are built on a foundation of saying it's almost the same reason why I'm like Scotland should not go independent, because Scotland has this idea of like, oh, and then we'll instantly be accepted into the European Union. Nah, it doesn't work that way. A lot of the exit people are like, oh yeah, and then we'll be able to renegotiate our trade terms with the individual countries in the European Union. A, that takes time. B, they may be like, go fuck yourselves. You talk to the union.
That's right.
So I think there's a little bit of rose-tinted glasses as to...
There always is whenever somebody comes up with one of these political ideas. They're always going to go and put their rose-colored glasses on it, trying to say, oh, well, it could be done this way or could be done that way. And, I mean, that's standard issue, isn't it?
Yeah. I just think they're such a high cake and eat it too position. I think they're really huge benefactors from... being part of the union, but I don't know. That's me. I don't live there.
Yep.
I don't have to subscribe to the EU rules and regulations. So
well, and that whole trade stuff is a big deal in what Donald Trump thinks he's actually going to win with, and
right.
With all that's wrong with Donald Trump, I do think that he's going to be a better business negotiator for business deals than a lot of other people that we've had as presidents or as... He's had a lot of experience. It doesn't mean that experience doesn't equate effectiveness, but HR certainly thinks so.
And my experience is he's not very good at it. I mean, there's that long-running... statement of if he had taken the money that he was bequeathed in his trust or whatever,
and just put it into the
S&P 500, he'd have more money than he does now.
Yep.
It's But
would the S&P 500 have gone up if he hadn't? Because he had enough of an influence on so many of those companies that are in the S&P 500 that he probably helped other people to make large profits. He was a big enough player over the last 30 years that made a tick on the profits of many, many companies that are in the S&P 500.
Tell you what, one movie there's a little bird in my fire escape. Hello, birdie. All right, I got distracted by. I have a fire. I'm on the third floor. Second floor. What am I talking about? I'm on the third floor, viewers. So this light coming through is from the fire escape here, and there was a little bird landing here. I can actually see. I should say you are in the shadow of the Gold Dome of Atlanta.
Yep.
During the winter and fall, when there's no leaves on the trees, I can see the Empire State Building at night from my bedroom window.
Then you need to say that.
In the shadow of the mighty ESP. I can't see it now, though. There's leaves in the trees.
Gotcha.
Stupid spring.
It's a winter thing that you get to say.
It's a winter.
On a clear winter's day, I am under the auspices of the Empire State Building.
How very great oratory. It's like you're from classic Greek theater. You know what? Also, Greece, in addition to giving us the theater and the stage and drama, you know what they also gave us?
No.
The Olympics.
Syphilis? Oh.
Yes, but that came along during Lord Byron's days.
Ah, yes, Lord Byron. Yes, Lord Byron.
Shudder.
The Olympics.
Yeah,
What is going on with the
Olympics.
Olympics? Are they going to have some?
They're having Olympics this summer.
What?
Which was funny. I had to look it up because someone was like, when is the Olympics? I'm like, it's the summer. But is it going to be in the summer? Because it's in Brazil, and that's technically their winter. When are they doing it? It's. I seriously was having this conversation in my head openly. I was like, wait. And so it's in August.
Really?
Which I feel like is later than they usually do it, but maybe it's because they need to get past the
cold part,
the winter equinox, or the equinox solstice.
Right.
I'm saying words I don't know. Solstice, winter solstice for them. It's going to be in Brazil.
Autumnal equinox, winter solstice.
Thank you. It's going to be in Brazil, Rio. And I wrote this and I said Olympic fever or go to the Olympics and come back with a fever. This is it's a perfect storm of just nightmare proportions. So Brazil was able to successfully pull off the World Cup a couple years ago, which many saw as kind of like a trial run or a different version of the Olympics. That was across the country. This is just in one city. But now you've got the triple threat of the water apparently is poisonous. Like they're afraid for like the sailing events because basically the parts per million of human waste in the water is highly unacceptable. So basically you're guaranteed to come back with skin lesions or something. Now you have Zika. In fact, there's been I've heard about reporters who have been basically their insurance has said, yeah, we're advising you not to go, otherwise we're going to have to take you off.
Wow.
Yeah. Athletes are, there's question of whether that's. I wonder if that didn't influence the Latvian rookie, Lithuanian, the Knicks rookie opted not to go play for the national team, but rather he wanted to like stay the summer to like bulk up and work on his game in New York. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm wondering if he wasn't also like, you know what? I also don't want to get bitten by a mosquito and have a disease. And then you have the impeachment of the president of the country.
Yeah.
This is, the Olympics is always when a country gets to, show itself on the national stage and
the international stage.
Not national, the global stage. And wow, this is really going. I imagine there's going to be mass demonstrations throughout Rio. I would never go to the Olympics. Years ago, I planned to go to the World Cup. I started saving money to go to a World Cup in Brazil, and then I basically talked myself out of it when I saw how poorly the infrastructure was doing. I can only imagine how much of a nightmare Rio's going to be. So I don't have fever. I don't have the Olympic fever.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. I would love to be at the Olympics maybe one time in my life. It's just not one that I'd want to go do. Brazil, I think Brazil is probably a fantastic country to go visit for a lot of other reasons and a lot of other times. Just not sure this is the one to do it in.
Yep.
Right? It's a beautiful country with a lot of beautiful things going on there, beautiful people. Do you hear about their new, Brazil's now having a theme park based on sex?
Nice.
So they're going to have all the rides are going to be like 3D porn events. And
stop, you lie.
I read about this and I was like, no way. But they are planning to do it, but they're not encouraging any of the patrons to perform any of this. They are then therefore saying there will be local motels that we will operate for you to go, and if the spirit arises, for you to go and take care of business.
Erotica land. This is...
See, it's a thing! It's a thing!
A train of pleasure with go-go boys and girls, a nudist pool, and a sex playground with a water slide. Mm-hmm. Ride with bumper cars shaped like genitalia.
I can imagine riding in a Volvo. It's like a Volvo, but it's bigger.
Oh God. I want to be in a Dodge Ram or.
Oh wow, yeah, because I'm American, and you've got this big flag behind you that says America.
America.
Love it or leave it.
Speaking
Love it or
of,
leave it. You're in Brazil. Shut up. Speaking of
genitalia, do you have an ass hat?
I do. Nice segue. So my ass hat of the week, it's related to Dennis Hastert, but it's not Dennis Hastert. For those of you who don't keep up with politics or current events, or those of viewers who may be watching us from overseas, Dennis Hastert was the former Speaker of the House. I think the longest tenured speaker. And again, for those who don't know U.S. politics, the Speaker of the House is the third in line to the presidency. So if the president and the vice president were to be taken
Parish.
out, Parish, thank you. The Speaker of the House is the third person. For some reason, I don't know how many Americans think it's a Secretary of State. Come on, that's not an elected position. So important position. So Dennis Hastert is going to go to jail. But not necessarily for the crime people think he's going to jail for. He's going to jail for, I guess it's like violating money laws or laundering laws.
Oh, so it's not about the serial child molester stuff?
No, because so what happened to Dennis Hastert has admitted to molesting students on his wrestling team when he was a coach of a high school wrestling team. And apparently he had been paying hush money. No, there's a statute of limitations for molestation, and that's expired. That could be a whole different subject of ass hattery, and just that's things that piss Tom off that should piss Tom off. Is the fact that there's a statute of limitations on molestation, but there's no statute of limitations on a whole host of stupid stuff like parking tickets. There's no statute of limitation on non-moving violations or failure to pay traffic tickets, but apparently molestation there is. So he was convicted not for the molestation, but for the
I found out I had a ticket in Virginia last week from 2001. I had no idea.
Yeah,
no idea.
That happened to my brother, who basically had his license revoked because he apparently had a traffic ticket in South Carolina that he'd paid, but apparently there was a computer glitch that basically looked like he had a balance of $0 and it was overpaid, and so now there was a warrant for his arrest. Technology. Anyway, the ass hattery is not Dennis Hastert, although he is Hall of Fame ass hat now. This is the guy who, went hard against LGBT rights. Was a big player in the impeachment of former President Clinton for his perjury regarding his affair, but he's a child molester. No, my ass hattery is the amount of Republicans, former and current, who have come to his kind of defense, and asking for leniency. Big one I'm looking at is Tom DeLay.
Wow.
Who basically wrote and asking, I ask that you consider the man that is before you and give him leniency where you can. Is this really the tent pole you want to stick in the ground? Is coming to the
aid of Dennis Hastert?
Yeah, he doesn't deserve what he's going through. That's also what I say. He doesn't deserve what he's going through. No, he deserves that and more. Shut up! Stop writing letters, Tom DeLay. Aren't you in jail too, Tom DeLay? Or is he out now?
I don't know. I don't keep. I can't keep track of all the congressmen that are in jail. Which reminds me of the whole. I mean, is it safer to be in a restroom with a trans person, or is it safer to be in a room alone with a congressman?
Yeah, I'll take a
restroom with a trans person any day.
Yes.
Any day. than
Yes.
putting my available child in a closed room with a congressperson.
Yeah. Because at best, they're going to annoy you for a donation. And at worst,
And there is a statistically real chance that that person has had some sexual, whatever in their past. But I can't find a single record of a trans person going in to molest someone in a restroom.
who was the Iowa senator tapping feet in the men's room, got arrested at the airport?
God,
Remember
I
that?
can't remember, but we covered it months ago.
Yeah, we covered it. Yeah, so,
Look back in the archives.
yeah.
Well, and that reminds me, back in the archives, thanking all of our viewers. I've seen a number of them come in and out as we've been playing here, and we always appreciate live viewers. We always appreciate those who follow us. We would love your comments. We'd love your input. If there are topics you'd like for us to cover, we will espouse on your thoughts, your concepts, your interest, if you so see fit. If not, we'll talk about what it is that we have to talk about. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And that puts another week in the books. What do you think?
I think so.
All right. Well, you don't have to think like me,
and you don't have to think like me.
but we will ask that you think.